Chapter 9. I am offered a quest. The next morning, Chiron moved me to Cabin 3, Poseidon's cabin. I didn't have to share with anybody. I had plenty of room for all my stuff, the Minotaur's horn, one set of spare clothes, and a toiletry bag. I got to sit at my own dinner table, pick all my own activities, call lights out whenever I felt like it, and not listen to anybody else. And I was absolutely miserable. I had just started to feel accepted, to feel I had a home in Cabin 11, and that I was like a normal kid for the first time in my life. Now all that was over. I had been separated out like I had a rare disease. After I had gotten attacked by the hellhound, the monster dog, at the creek, everyone was frightened. Now they knew 2 things. 1, that I was the son of the sea god, and 2, monsters would do anything to kill me. Monsters could even enter a camp that was supposed to be safe. The other campers stayed away from me as much as possible. The kids from Cabin 11 were too nervous to have sword class with me after what I'd done to the Ares cabin kids in the woods. Only Luke still wanted to help me learn. He made me practice hard and wasn't afraid to hurt me while practicing. "You're going to need all the training you can get," he warned. "Now let's try that strike again. 50 more times." Annabeth still taught me Greek in the mornings, but she was not very friendly with me anymore. I wondered why. After lessons, she would walk away, muttering to herself, "Quest with a son of Poseidon? Rotten luck. Got to make a plan." Even Clarice kept away from me, even though she looked like she wanted to kill me for breaking her magic spear. I wished she would just yell or punch me or something. I hated being ignored. One night I came into my cabin and found a New York City newspaper. The article was about me. It took me almost an hour to read it because the angrier I got, the more the words floated around on the page. "Boy and mother still missing after freak car accident," by Eileen Smith. Sally Jackson and son Percy are still missing 1 week after their mysterious disappearance. The family's badly burned 78 Camaro was discovered last Saturday on a Long Island road with the roof ripped off and the front axle broken. The car had flipped and skidded for several hundred feet before exploding. Mother and son had gone for a weekend vacation to Montauk, but left their cabin for a mysterious reason. Small traces of blood were found in the car, but there were no other signs of the missing Jacksons. Miss Jackson's husband, Gabe Ugliano, claims that his stepson, Percy Jackson, is a troubled child who has been kicked out of numerous schools and has shown violent behaviors in the past. Police would not say whether Percy is a suspect in his mother's disappearance. Below are recent pictures of Sally Jackson and Percy. Police urge anyone with information to call the following Crime Stoppers hotline. The phone number was circled in black marker. I wadded up the paper and threw it away, then flopped down in my bunk bed in the middle of my empty cabin. That night I had my worst dream yet. I was running along the beach in a storm. This time there was a city behind me. Not New York. The buildings were more spread out. There were palm trees and hills in the distance. On the beach, 2 men were fighting. They looked like TV wrestlers, muscular with beards and long hair. Both wore Greek tunics, one trimmed in blue, the other in green. They wrestled, kicked, and head-butted. Every time they connected, lightning flashed, the sky grew darker, and the wind blew harder. I had to stop them. I didn't know why, but the harder I ran, the more the wind blew me back, until I was running in place, my feet sinking in the sand. Over the roar of the storm, I could hear the blue-robed one yelling at the green-robed one, Give it back! Give it back! Like a kindergartner fighting over a toy. The waves got bigger, crashing into the beach, spraying me with salt. I yelled, "Stop it! Stop fighting!" The ground shook. Laughter came from somewhere under the earth, a voice deep and evil. "Ha ha ha ha! Come down, little hero!" The voice crooned, "Come down." The sand split beneath me, opening up a crevice straight down to the center of the earth. My feet slipped, and darkness swallowed me. I woke up, sure I was falling. I was still in bed, in cabin 3. My body told me it was morning, but it was dark outside, and thunder rolled across the hills. A storm was brewing in real life. Someone knocked at the door. "Come in?" Grover trotted inside, looking worried. "Mr. D wants to see you." "Why?" "He wants to kill... I'd better let him tell you." Nervously, I got dressed and followed, sure that I was in big trouble. For days, I'd been expecting Mr. D to call me to the big house. Now that I was declared a son of Poseidon, one of the big 3 gods who weren't supposed to have kids, I figured it was a crime for me just to be alive. From the big house, you could see the ocean far away. "Grover, do we need an umbrella? It looks like a storm is coming." "No," said Grover. "Storms always pass around Camp Half-Blood." But this storm, this one was huge. We passed by other campers doing normal things, but they looked tense. They kept their eyes on the storm. Grover and I walked up to the front porch of the big house. Dionysus sat at the pinochle table in his Hawaiian shirt with his Diet Coke, just as he had on my first day. Chiron sat across the table in his fake wheelchair. "Well, well," Mr. D said without looking up, "our little celebrity." I waited. "Come closer," Mr. D said, "and don't expect me to bow to you, mortal, just because old Barnacle-Beard is your father." Lightning flashed across the clouds. Thunder shook the windows of the house. "Blah, blah, blah," Dionysus said. "If I had my way, I would cause you to burn up, and we could forget about you. But Chiron reminds me it's my mission to keep you little brats safe from harm, so I'm thinking of turning you into a dolphin instead. Sending you back to your father." "Mr. D," Chiron warned. "Oh, all right," Dionysus relented. "There's one more option, but it's deadly and foolish. Chiron can tell you the idea, since he thinks it's so great. I'm off to Olympus for the emergency meeting. Perseus Jackson, you'd better be gone when I come back." Dionysus snapped his fingers and disappeared. "Tell me, Percy," Chiron said, "what did you think of the Hellhound?" Chiron probably wanted me to say, "Heck, it was nothing." But I didn't feel like lying. "It terrified me," I said. "If you hadn't shot the hound, I'd be dead." "You'll meet worse monsters, Percy. Much worse, before you're finished with this." "Finished? With what?" "Your quest, of course. Will you accept it?" Sir," I said, "you haven't told me what it is yet." Chiron grimaced. "Well, that's the hard part, the details." Thunder rumbled across the valley. The storm clouds had now reached the edge of the beach. "Poseidon and Zeus," I said. "They're fighting over something valuable, something that was stolen, aren't they?" Chiron and Grover looked at each other. Chiron said, "How did you know that?" "The weather since Christmas has been weird, like the sea and the sky are fighting. Then I talked to Annabeth, and she'd heard something about a valuable item being stolen. And I've also been having these dreams." "I knew it," Grover said. "Hush, satyr," Chiron ordered. "But it is his quest." Grover's eyes were bright with excitement. "It must be." "Only the oracle can decide," said Chiron. "Nevertheless, Percy, you are correct. Your father Poseidon and his brother Zeus are having their worst argument in centuries. They are fighting over something valuable that was stolen. To be precise, a lightning bolt." I laughed nervously. A what? It is not funny, Chiron warned. I'm talking about a real dangerous thing. Zeus's master bolt, the symbol of his power, from which all other lightning bolts are patterned. The first weapon made by the Cyclopes for the war against the Titans. The bolt that threw Kronos from his throne. It packs enough power to make hydrogen bombs look like firecrackers. So who stole it? I asked. You, Chiron said. My mouth fell open. But I've never even seen it. Well, said Chiron, Zeus thinks you stole his master bolt. At the last meeting of the gods, Zeus and Poseidon had an argument. Afterward, Zeus realized his master bolt was missing. He immediately blamed Poseidon. Now, a god cannot take the power of another god. But Zeus believes your father made a human hero take it. But I didn't! Patience, and listen, child. Chiron said, Zeus has good reason to be suspicious. Zeus believes Poseidon has taken the master bolt and is now secretly making copies, which might be used to take over his throne. Now Poseidon has openly claimed you as his son. You were in New York over the winter holidays. You could have easily snuck into Olympus. So Zeus believes you are the thief. But I've never even been to Olympus. How could Zeus think that? Well, Chiron said, Poseidon has tried to take Zeus's throne before. Poseidon and Hera and a few other gods trapped Zeus and wouldn't let him out until he promised to be a better ruler. But I didn't do anything. Poseidon, my dad, he didn't really have this master bolt stolen, did he? Chiron sighed. Poseidon, of course, says that he didn't. It's true that stealing is not Poseidon's style. But Zeus has demanded that Poseidon return the bolt by the summer solstice. That's June 21st, 10 days from now. Poseidon wants an apology for being called a thief by the same date. But now that Zeus knows you exist, he might not give Poseidon an apology. Now, neither god will agree to peace. Unless the master bolt is found and returned to Zeus before the solstice, there will be war. And do you know what a full-fledged war would look like, Percy? Bad, I guessed. Imagine the world in chaos, destruction, millions dead. Our world will never be the same. And you, Percy Jackson, would be the first to feel Zeus's anger. It started to rain. I had brought this storm to Half-Blood Hill. Zeus was punishing the whole camp because of me. So I have to find the stupid bolt, I said, and return it to Zeus. What better way is there to make peace, Chiron said, than to have the son of Poseidon return Zeus's property? But if my dad doesn't have it, how am I supposed to know where it is? I believe I know. Chiron's expression was grim. It's part of a prophecy I had years ago. But before I can say more, you must accept the quest. Why can't you tell me where the bolt is before I accept the quest? Because then you would be too afraid to accept the challenge. I swallowed. Oh, good reason. You agree then? I looked at Grover, who nodded encouragingly. Easy for him. I was the one Zeus wanted to kill. All right, I said. It's better than being turned into a dolphin. Then it's time you meet with the Oracle, Chiron said. Go upstairs, Percy Jackson, to the attic. Alone. I held my breath and climbed to the 4th floor and through a trap door. It was dark and smelly. By the window, sitting on a wooden stool, sat a mummy. Not the wrapped up kind, but a human female body with dried up greenish black skin, and her eyes were just holes. Looking at her sent chills up my back. Suddenly she sat up on her stool and opened her mouth. A green mist poured from the mummy's mouth, hissing like snakes. I ran for the trap door, but it slammed shut. Inside my head I heard a voice hiss. I am the spirit of Delphi, speaker of the prophecies of Phoebus Apollo, slayer of the mighty Python. Approach, seeker, and ask. I wanted to say, no thanks, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. The mummy didn't feel evil, just like a dead thing being used by some ancient power. What is my destiny? I whispered. Suddenly, out of the green mist, I saw a dream. There were 4 men sitting around the table, playing cards. Their faces became clearer. It was Smelly Gabe and his buddies. Gabe spoke in the voice of the oracle. You shall go west and face the god who has turned. His buddies said in the same voice, You shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned. A second guy said, You shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend. Finally, Eddie, our landlord, said the worst line of all. And you shall fail to save what matters most in the end. The dream faded. I cried, Wait! What do you mean? What friend? What will I fail to save? The green mist disappeared into the mummy's mouth. She leaned back against the wall. Her mouth closed tight. The attic was silent again. It was over. I went downstairs. Well? Chiron asked me. I slumped into a chair. She said I would retrieve what was stolen. Grover sat forward excitedly. That's great! What did the oracle say exactly? Chiron said. This is important. She said I would go west and face a god who had turned. I would retrieve what was stolen and see it safely returned. I knew it, Grover said. Chiron didn't look satisfied. Anything else? I didn't want to tell him about the friend betraying me, or that I would fail to save what mattered most. No, I said, that's it. Very well, Percy, but know this. The oracle's words often have double meanings. The truth is not always clear until events come to pass. I got the feeling he knew I was holding back something bad, and he was trying to make me feel better. Okay, I said, anxious to change topics. So where do I go? Who's this god in the west? Think, Percy, Chiron said. If Zeus and Poseidon get weaker in a war, who would want to take over? Who has been unhappy since the world was divided? Whose kingdom grows with every death? Who hates his brothers for forcing him to promise to have no more children, a promise that they both broke? I thought about my bad dream in cabin 3, the evil voice that came from under the ground. Hades. Chiron nodded. The Lord of the Dead. Whoa, wait, what? Grover said. A fury came after Percy, Chiron reminded him. Mrs. Dodds tried to kill him. Furies obey only one lord, Hades. Also, a hellhound got into the forest. Those can only come from the fields of punishment, and they have to be called by someone within the camp. Hades must have a spy here. He doesn't want Percy to create peace between Poseidon and Zeus. Hades would very much like to kill Percy before he can take on the quest and get back the lightning bolt. Great, I muttered. That's 2 major gods who are out to get me. I'll bet Hades sent one of his servants to steal the master bolt, Chiron continued. Hades probably hid it in the underworld, knowing that Zeus would blame Poseidon. Percy must go to the underworld, find the master bolt, and reveal the truth. I had a strange feeling. It wasn't fear, It was anticipation. The desire for revenge. Hades had tried to kill me 3 times so far, with the Fury, the Minotaur, and the Hellhound. It was Hades' fault my mother had disappeared in a flash of light. Now he was trying to make it look like me and my dad stole something that we didn't. I was ready to get back at him. Besides, if my mother was in the underworld, maybe I'd get to rescue her. Whoa, boy, I thought, you're a kid. Hades is a god. Grover was trembling with fear. If we know it's Hades who has the lightning bolt, I told Chiron, why can't we just tell the other gods to go fight him? Because we don't know for sure, Chiron said. Besides, the other gods can't enter the underworld without an invitation. Heroes can go anywhere and challenge anyone, if they're brave enough. So Poseidon is using me to solve his own problem. He needs you, agreed Chiron. My dad needs me. He had ignored me for 12 years. Now suddenly he needed me. I didn't know whether to feel angry at my dad for using me or grateful that he was giving me attention. I looked at Chiron. Did you get all these ideas from the oracle? You could say that, said Chiron. I got the feeling there was a lot he wasn't telling me about his prophecy. So I'm supposed to go to the underworld and face the Lord of the Dead. Yes, Chiron said. Find the most powerful weapon in the universe. Yes. And get it back to Olympus before the summer solstice in 10 days? That's about right. I looked at Grover, who was shaking so hard his chair rattled. You don't have to go, I told him. I can't ask that of you. Grover took a deep breath and stood up. You saved my life, Percy. If you're serious about wanting me along, I won't let you down. That's a relief, man. Grover was the only real friend I'd ever had. I felt better knowing he'd be with me, even if he couldn't fight. I turned to Chiron. So where do we go? The oracle just said to go west. The entrance to the underworld is always in the west. Right now it's in Los Angeles. Oh, I said, so we just get on a plane. No, Grover shrieked. Percy, what are you thinking? Percy, think, Chiron said. You are the son of the sea god. Your father is in an argument with Zeus, lord of the sky. You can't travel in the sky. You would never come down again alive. Overhead, lightning crackled. Thunder boomed. Okay, I said, so I'll travel overland. That's right, Chiron said. 2 companions may accompany you. Grover is one. The other has already volunteered, if you will accept her help. Who? I said. Annabeth became visible. Again, she had that Yankees cap in her hand. You've been here the whole time with that hat that makes you invisible? I asked. I've been waiting a long time for a quest, seaweed brain, she said. My mother Athena is no fan of Poseidon, but if you're going to save the world, I'm the best person to keep you from messing up. I suppose you have a plan, wise girl, I said. Do you want my help or not? She said. The truth was, I did. I needed all the help I could get. A trio, I said. 3 people on a quest. That'll work. Excellent, Chiron said. This afternoon we can take you to the bus station in Manhattan. After that, you are on your own. No time to waste. Go and pack.